Hello everybody, Mark Marshall from theproaudiofiles.com and guitaristmarkmarshall.com. Today I'm going to be showing some tips from a good friend of mine, Chris Venditti from the band Nation Beat. And he has some great tips about achieving a very interesting bass tone while recording that is really a great accompaniment for a lot of world music and also R&B. He's going to be using some EBS pedals in this and straight DI into Avid Mbox, and I'm going to be using Softube's Bass Amp Room, which is my go-to amp emulation plugin for bass these days, which is great because not only does the amp emulation sound good, but the DI sound it has in it is really fabulous as well, and you could blend the two of them. For this, when I plugged Chris in, I let him play along with it, and he pretty much liked the stock settings. That's one of the nice things about the Bass Amp Room is that pretty much when you pull it up, it's already usable. So we left it pretty much alone, and he plugged his Lakeland bass into it with a couple pedals, and here's what he has to say.
Hi, I'm Chris Venditti. Some know me as Crow. I'm a bass player. I play with the band Nation Beat, which is like a Brazilian-American fusion band Del Sonido, cumbia, Afro-Caribbean band, and I do a lot of R&B, funk stuff, and Latin stuff in the greater New York area. I found myself in a situation where I'm wanting like a kind of clean, almost active. I mean, I'm playing a passive bass, but this hits the Lakeland with a very clear sound, and wanting that kind of definition to the notes, but also wanting to keep the kind of vintage warmth and resonance. So I, kind of figured out this trick using a compression pedal and a filter pedal both of which I particularly like. So basically what I do is I have this compressor, this EBS compressor, set on the multiband mode, so it's compressing the lows and the highs independently, which really, it really tightens up my low end and it kind of crisps up my high end at the same time, and that gives me like a really even sound, but it definitely is bright. So what I've done is put this EBS compressor that has a down setting so that it if I maybe make it more obvious, it'll sweeps from high to low. So I put the threshold just so it grabs the note if I play rather hard, but doesn't even do it. So what that basically does is it gives me the opportunity to play high or play rather hard and rather loud, and it'll just eat the high end a little bit so that I don't know, I get that I can play aggressively and with a lot of attack but still maintain like a warm sound. And the filter itself even in the open mode, it still kind of takes the high end off and gives a certain warmth to the sound, kind of like enhances the high mids. Alright, so this is completely clean. Alright, with the compressor. And then with the filter. A really great application of this little setup is certainly for slappy, because I'm not a huge fan of just like like doing the contour switch on a bass amp and just taking all the mids out, because I feel like you just end up with this very kind of cold, just lifeless sound, and it's very thin. And but you definitely do need to kind of shape the sound when you slap, and you definitely need to compress the sound when you slap. So the thing about this is you get that punch and you get to pretty much maintain the sound of your bass, but it's gonna kind of filter out the nasty stuff. So I'll slap a little bit just completely clean, and I'll play the same thing with the compressor and the filter on. So. So definitely like a much more natural, warm sound that's closer to what you would get with fingerstyle, which is kind of that's like the biggest thing when you slap, is like getting the switch between the two to be really even.